Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. My name is Giovanni Gonzalez, and we're live on Facebook. We're live at the virtual studio audio of Zoom, of the Daily Huddle. Thank you all for being here. This is another great, fantastic episode with fantastic people. Just really excited to start the day with all of you. Thank you all for being here. So today we have a phenomenal question I can't wait to take on, and just being the inquiry with a phenomenal human being. And before we do that, I want to just say a little bit about the Daily Huddle. This is a conversation that we have every morning at 9 in the morning, where you can invite your friends, where you can invite people to plug in, just to kind of give a little bit of a push, a little bit of a context. That's what we like to say, a little bit of framing what the rest of the day is going to look like, because we say that the way you start your day gives you the rest of your day, and the way that you live each day gives you the rest of your life. Saurel, good morning. What time is it?
It is 9:01, my friend, and it's now.
It is now, right now. That's what the time it is. It is right now. My co-host and business partner and mentor for many years is the #1 executive coaching expert, Mr. Saurel Quettan. Good morning, Saurel.
Good morning, Giovanni. And my co-host is the #1 transformational leadership coach in the world. That's my friend, my business partner, Giovanni Gonzalez. And today, Giovanni, and all of you in the virtual studio audience and everyone watching on Facebook, we have the Holy Grail for you. Now, if you've ever wondered the bare minimum technology you need to have to operate and grow your business without breaking your bank, well, our expert guest today, Darrell Rodgers, is here to address that question. And I promise you, Darrell's going to leave you with the kind of clarity to actually acquire the technology you need if you don't already have it. And if you already have it, to actually use it effectively in a way that your business is left running like a big operation. And yet you are who you are and you are where you are. See, Darrell has an extensive technology services background, 35 years of experience designing, deploying, and supporting technology solutions. His career, he's served in numerous national and international roles, supporting email, telecommunications, communications, and database systems at Fortune 500 corporations, including the Coca-Cola Company, UBS, Deloitte, and Bank of America. Currently, Darrell is the president and chairman of the board at his company, Emerald Data Networks, where he's dedicated to providing quality technology consulting services to businesses like yours and mine. Emerald Data Networks is a vendor-agnostic technology consultancy that shows companies how to use technology efficiently to achieve their business goals. You are in for a treat. If you have your notebooks and your pens, take them out. You're going to want to take notes. And I give you none other than my friend, a trusted resource in the technology industry, Mr. Darrell Rodgers. Darrell, good morning and welcome to the Daily Huddle.
Good morning, Saurel, and thank you and to Giovanni for having me, and for all of our guests for being here today. I appreciate that introduction greatly. Well done. Today we're going to talk about essential technology. And so I'm going to share my screen. I've got a little slideshow to help everybody kind of see what's going on. Saurel, I'm not sure if I'll be able to see questions as they come in, but I do want to let everybody know, if you have a question as we go, please feel free to put it in the chat and I will address it, I promise, during the course of the presentation today. Everything that we do as Emerald is custom. So we build custom technology solutions around a lot of different technologies for businesses, from a single user or a single proprietor rather, all the way up to the Fortune 500, as Darrell talked about before. And so what I'm presenting to you today is some essential things that you need for businesses to get started. So without further ado, let's see if we can get into this. Oh, and I just went past. All right, the essentials list. So here are the things that everybody needs to have. One, a website. And this day and time, it's required. You have to have a website in order to have legitimacy and presence email address, and we'll talk about what that needs to look like. You need to have some type of internet connectivity, even for solopreneurs who are just working at home and working out of their home office when they get started. The type of internet and how you use it is important. Telecommunications is a large consideration, especially for how your customers are going to contact you and how you will coordinate activities within your firm. Then you need a financial system. Obviously, with any business, you need to be able to keep track of, what am I spending? What am I getting? How do I bill? And how do I track those things that are owed to me and those things that I owe? Customer database, essential for almost every business. There are some situations, and we'll talk about those later possibly, where perhaps you're set up in a system where you don't really need to go out and look for customers. You don't need to prospect at all. But in almost every other situation, to do better, you need good information. Backups, one of the things that I see missed quite frequently, and we'll talk about the effect of that when it's not done the way that it should be. And then contingency plans. So a lot of things that I'll talk about today, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I don't know that I need that right now. And you know what? You might be right. Every business is different, but there are a lot of similarities in businesses. And so one of the things that we'll talk about is some of these things may not be a right now thing for you, not something that's hot on your plate, but we'll talk about how you have a contingency plan for certain other pieces. So with that, are there, I don't think I saw, are there any questions at present, Saurel?
No, not at this time.
Okay, then good. Then we'll go to website. So the important thing is to make sure that you have it for presence, because it shows legitimacy. Because if you have a business, even if it's just Bob's Tool Shed, you want to be able to have a site so that you can point people to the site and they can go in and see that, yes, you do have a web space. You can see from the second one, it's important for you to have your own domain. So you want your site to be www.bobstoolshed.com. You don't want it to be Bob's Tool Shed at Gmail or something like that, so that you're showing that you have your own space. Now, web domains, I know a lot of people, especially when they're first starting out, get a little bit concerned and confused about this, but you can register a domain name for as little as $10 a year. I mean, that is nothing in terms of cost for a business, right? Setting up the website is far more difficult and far more costly than just owning your own domain name. There are lots of domain registrars that you can go out to and go ahead and register, again, whatever you want ABC company to be. Right, present, all the 3-letter and 4-letter domain names are already taken. So you probably want to be specific, and you want it to be something a little bit longer, so that it'll be easy for people to find you. And the last one is, most sites are static. A lot of people go, well, I'm not sure about having a site. I'm not sure about, taking sales or doing credit cards or gift cards or, anything like that. Most small business sites in particular are static. It's just information that is on the site. It gives the whoever's searching for you an opportunity to see your messaging and see your branding. So you don't have to think about it as something that you have to constantly be adding to or changing, or that you have to enable it so that you can take sales off of it. It's usually, especially in the beginning stages, just for legitimacy and to make sure that you're getting your branding and your messaging out. Email. So on the email front, again, we talked about this with the website. You want it to be my name at mybusiness.com. You don't want it to be mybusiness@gmail.com or something along those lines. And again, it's important for legitimacy's sake. Businesses these days need to have their own domain, need to have their email set up to go to their own domain. In the beginning, you want to be hosted. It's so much easier for you. It's less cost, less frustration, less issue. As you go down the line, you may decide that you prefer the flexibility and the control to be able to have your own mail system on site. But in the beginning, you want to be hosted, and I've just listed for you some good places to get hosted email. Office 365 is one of the biggest right now. Zoho actually does it for free. If you're looking for a free option, Zoho would probably be it. Yahoo, Gmail, and GoDaddy also have hosted solutions in email, which help businesses out in the beginning. So those are all really good options. As I said a minute ago, as you grow, you'll decide between the ease of use and the security, flexibility, and control, because you'll realize at some point with your hosted provider, say we're Office 365, you want to do something specific for your employees or for their addresses or for your mail flow, and you'll be told you can't because you're on a shared system. And that's when you'll start to see, are there things that might make me go to having my own system on site or having my own system hosted somewhere that I'm not sharing with the masses. Internet, so as you can see here, basic broadband services are available almost everywhere. They're not available everywhere, but if you are in the Atlanta marketplace, you pretty much are guaranteed that you're going to have a broadband option. Comcast is usually that broadband option. Usually you can get something on the order of 75 meg down, 25 meg up, and you're talking less than $100 a month. That's all anyone is ever going to need to start their business, whether their business is in their garage or in their basement, or you've got a small space somewhere. Frequently, you don't have a choice. Broadband carriers are controlled by federal regulation, and usually it's one per area. It's very rare. It does occur, but it's very rare for there to be an option for you to have, well, I can either choose Comcast or I can choose Charter. Charter is another one of the bigger ones in the Georgia marketplace that a lot of people aren't aware of. And there are a few areas where they do overlap. And because of redistricting, and changes into federal law, there are times when you have a choice between different broadband carriers, but most of the time you only have one. If you are in a shared colo space, like you're in a WeWork or something similar to that, a lot of times you may have the option of multiple broadband services because they may have already been installed in the building. So if you were downtown at 10th Street, for example, and you had a shared office space there, you may have the option of saying, I want broadband from Google, or I want it from AT&T, or I want it from Comcast, or I want it from whomever. And that's because they've already ran very large connectivity into the building in order to service all the protected businesses that are going to be in there. And so then you do have a good bit more options. But if you're starting a business out at your home, if you're starting out of that location, usually you only have a single option. It is important to note, however, that you do have the option to get business. Right now, I'm coming to you live from my home. I am on a business internet connection that is provided by Comcast. I also have a residential connection provided by Comcast into my home. It's important because those are two completely separate fulfillment strategies. So I have a different number, I have a different wire to my house, I have a different equipment in my home for my corporate internet connection than I have for my residential TV and everything else that I have for my family to enjoy here in the home. So with the broadband, it is important to note that a lot of the organizations do have a different business facility than they have a residential facility, and you want to make sure that you're getting the right one that's appropriate for you. So, last thing is understand your options to bundle. We're going to talk about telecom in a second. And whenever you do look at your internet options, you usually are going to have some options to bundle your telecom with your internet, and that can provide you some savings and also some ease of administration. If you have several services under a single umbrella, a lot of times it's much easier for you to deal with from your perspective in terms of if you have any kinds of issues. So telecommunications is next. So I generally recommend for businesses that are less than 10 that you go hosted to begin with. And the reason for that is it makes a lot of sense cost-wise. It's easier to get into, and it's something that you can change whenever you want. So once you get to somewhere between 10 and 15 people, or once you get to situations where you want to do something specific to your business, then it may be important for you to look at having an on-premise system. And that's what on-prem means. Is just you have the phone system at your location. You want your business number to be something that's in the local area code. In Atlanta, obviously 404 is the historic local area code. We now have 678 and 770, so on and so forth. Gadget numbers are no longer needed. So there used to be a time when people would call and say, hey, I got to get 404-666-6666, all right? Nobody needs that anymore because guess what? We're not remembering phone numbers. We put it into our phone one time, and then that's it. From then on, all we do is click on that button. So the gadget numbers are pretty much going away. It's usually not worth people's time to try to get some fancy number that has the exact digits that they want people to remember, because that's not how people use their phones anymore. Cell phones, I always recommend that organizations own the cell phone, own the policy, and own the numbers associated with them. That way you don't have the opportunity to lose customers whenever your people move on, because people moving around is just the nature of the beast in a lot of businesses. And you don't want one of your best clients to be contacting a sales guy that you had 3 months ago that's no longer working for you. In fact, now he's working for one of competitors. So I always recommend that you own the cell phones and you own the numbers. If you can't do that for some reason, you want to own the call flow. That gets kind of complicated, and it goes back into you having a hosted phone system. But you can have numbers that route specifically to your phone system, and don't ever allow them to leave messages. And by them, I mean the people who call your numbers. Don't allow them to leave messages on cell phones of individual users, but all those messages get sent back to the company. And 800 numbers are kind of going away, especially with deregulation and the fact that long distance is going away. So really only very large companies use them, or companies that have historically had 800 numbers. For the most part, they're going to be obsolete in the years to come. All right, financial system. So whether it's on-prem or on-prem or online is a personal choice. It comes with trade-offs. Yes.
Before you dig too deep into financial systems, there's a question about hosted phone. What does hosted phone mean?
So a lot of organizations will do hosted phone, and what that means is, like, if you Comcast is one that will do it. You say, hey, I'm a business, I'm just starting, I'm only going to have 3 people. So they will send you 3 digital phone sets. You'll set them on your desks and in your basement, let's say, and the phone system is actually at Comcast. So those phones that they sent you, they remotely connect to the phone system, and you generally pay for either the number of phones or the number of lines that you want to have active. Because you might say, you know what, there are 5 of us, but realistically, probably only 1 or 2 of us will ever be on the phone at the same time. So we want to pay for 2 lines of service, but I need 5 phones. Or maybe all 5 of us might be on. So you pay Comcast for 5 lines of service and 5 phones. The reason that starts to get to a point where you don't want to use it around 10, let me go back to this, is it's a monthly fee. So let's say that fee is $20 per phone and you got 10 people. Now you're talking $200 a month to have that hosted system. Now it's going to be much more in your favor to get a system on site, because you're not going to be spending $2,500 a year on a phone system, which you would be if you had more than 10 users using it and it was $20 per user per month. Good question.
A follow-on question to that, Darrell, if you do choose to go beyond, to your own hosted in-house phone system, how much would the initial investment be?
So you generally are looking at about $500 or so for a current VoIP system, about $500 per user for a current system. So it could go as high as 1,000 or so. Anything over that is too much for a small medium business. Anything under that probably doesn't have enough features of what you're going to want it to be able to do in the years to come.
Awesome.
Good questions. Follow up on this?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so financial systems, as we were saying, QuickBooks and Peachtree are the kings. They do everything you want. They're very customizable. You can use it online, in which case you don't have to worry about backups, but you don't house your own data. You can also go with the on-prem, in which case you need to make sure that you have good backups. But I see it's nearly probably 99% of all small, micro and small businesses are using QuickBooks and Peachtree in order to keep track of all of their financial requirements. So those are the ones that we see and utilize most often. Contact database, so start online, stay there until you have over 25 people, or your database is over 100,000 entries. Depending on the business you're in, a lot of people have tons of prospecting they do. Some don't have that many. Listed here, Salesforce, Constant Contact, Zoho, HubSpot, those are all good options to take a look at in terms of cost, especially when you're starting out. Backups, this is the thing that people miss the most, and it's the most devastating. As you can see here, I've just given you one little tidbit of information that is very, very pertinent. 50% of small businesses that experience a major data loss close within 6 weeks. You only have a little over a month for half the businesses. Another 40% of those close within 6 months. Only 10% survive a major data loss. Your essential data is the stuff that you got to be concerned about. It's usually your financial data, your payables, who owes you money, who do you owe money, what's the information you must have if the building burns down in order to still have a business. For some people, that might be other data bits besides the key financial data. You want to have both an on-site and an off-site backup. and you want to keep them regularly updated according to your risk tolerance. And by that, I mean, if Saurel tells me, hey, I could afford to lose a week's worth of data, sure, it would be difficult and I'd have to recreate it by hand, but that's not going to kill my business. And okay, 1 week is an acceptable risk for Saurel. If Giovanni says, gosh, it would kill me to have to redo 2 days worth of data with all the data that we're processing, then Giovanni's risk tolerance is 2 days, right? And so understand what your risk tolerance is to losing information and having to go back in time, and then how would you recapture back to the time that you have to. And the second thing is keep a written plan, because when you call me or any other professional because you've got a need, the more information that you can quickly show me, the faster and easier and more efficiently I can get a plan together to help you out of your current fiasco, whatever that fiasco is. So if you keep your written information down on how you back up your stuff and restore your stuff, I can quickly, or somebody else can quickly look at that and go, okay, it's going to take 2 hours to do this and 6 hours to do that and 2 days to do the other. What is it that we need to get to most quickly, Saurel, in order to get you back to where you need to be? All right, have a contingency plan. So I want everybody to especially see the first line of this. Even a bad plan is better than no plan at all. So anytime you have a plan, it provides you with structures and boundaries and direction, right? And not everything is needed right now. So don't worry about, well, I don't want to plan now because I don't have all the information. Don't let the perfect get in the way of the good, right? It's something I always tell people, do what you can. Don't let what you can't do get in the way of doing what you can. So it's a good starting point for the next plan, and it will always help your professionals quickly assess your situation when you need help. Notice that says when you need help, not if, because at some point you're going to need help from somebody and they're going to have to get information from you, right? And so having this information together in a place where you can share it with somebody will be paramount to getting you to a quick resolution at some point. So that's what you can do. How do I get started? So one of the things is have an inventory. Know what your major systems are. Know where they are. Have a written plan. Have this information written down, where your backups are, where they're going, how do you get to them. Keep your inventory updated. And here are the things you want to have in inventory: purchase dates, makes and models, physical locations. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into an organization and they said, yeah, our Wi-Fi is not working. I go, great, where's your Wi-Fi device? It's in the ceiling somewhere. So I have to go, okay, well, let's figure out where it is. So physical locations, and then things like IP address and login credentials, so it's easy for professionals to get into your systems and help you out when you need it. Know your direction. So a lot of people miss this. Most of the decisions that we make as business owners are tactical. So we're asked to make a decision on something. We take a look at things. We decide based on, what's my need right now. But the more that you can keep your strategy in mind and the longer term your vision is, the better that your maintenance costs will be for you. So if you can make each of your tactical decisions in terms of, this is where my company is going. We're in expansion mode. We're going to be 4 times our current size in the next 18 months, right? I got a completely different plan for you, and you should have a different idea what you want. If that's your reality, then if your reality is, oh my gosh, with COVID-19, I'm going to have to cut half my staff in the next 9 months. In that case, I've got a different plan for you, and you should have a different idea what you need to be doing right now, even with all those tactical decisions, right? So understand your strategy and where you're going, especially over about a 2-year period, helps anybody in the technology arena tailor a specific item so that it fits in with your strategy, not just your tactical need. Some dates to know for your business. So your contract end dates for your space, so that's your lease if you have one. When does your internet end? When does your telephone services end? When do your cell phone services end? Sometimes those are all with the same carrier, sometimes they're not. But every single customer that I go to has completely different dates for all these things. And a lot of times they're nowhere near each other, and that can cause you some issues down the road that you have to deal with. The second one is whenever you're dealing with phone and internet renewals, you need to be contacting them proactively 6 months out, because a lot of these things were auto renew. And guess what? A lot of times they auto renew at standard rates, not at the discounted rate that you got when you signed your contract originally. So if you don't reach back out to these people, you'll find out that nice $70 bill that you used to be getting for your phone, your corporate phone and your corporate internet jumped to $250 this month. And you're going to go, uh-oh, what happened? And that's why, because whenever you agree to the contracts, a lot of times you agree to auto renewals, and you also agree that after the introductory period, your discount runs out and you will pay the auto renewal price. right? So something to be aware of. I also threw in here, use a broker. It costs you nothing. So brokers get paid from the other end. They get paid from the Comcast AT&Ts in order to get people into contracts. It doesn't cost the end user anything in order to use a broker to look at a bunch of different services. Just like in Victor's organization, he looks at a bunch of different mortgage lenders. It doesn't cost you anything extra because he looks at 6 people versus if you went to a bank and they only looked at the Bank of America mortgage offer, right? So you're still going to have the same cost for getting your stuff done using a broker that looks at multiple different people. And then last one, understand the timeline. A lot of times it takes as much as 2 months, and this is if things go well and services facilities are already in place, which means no construction. So it could take a lot longer than that in order to get services in place if you do want to change because you're unhappy with whoever you're using. All right, that's my quick walkthrough. Questions?
That is an awesome walkthrough, Darrell. And I know people in the live virtual audience may have questions about what to establish or what to do given where you are. So who's got a question?
I have a question, Saurel.
Go ahead.
Darrell, we hear a lot about upgrading. You know, you get your phones that are upgraded. Of course, that's different. But at what point should we be upgrading our software and or our hardware based on what's out there in the marketplace? At what point does our technology and our hardware become archaic, if you will?
So technology changes about every 9 months, but that's the hard technology. So a lot of people will talk about Moore's Law. And what Moore's Law says is that transistors, so we're talking about integrated circuits, little bitty pieces of copper on a chip, that doubles every 18 months, used to be the rule. Now it's closer to 9, but that doesn't really affect your business. So in Saurel's business, his needs are slightly different than Victor's business, and they're slightly different than Giovanni's business. So every business has to decide for themselves what makes sense. Now, if you're a CPA, for example, you can't keep outdated software. If you don't have the latest tax code, then you can't do your job, right? So it's important for your business to update at least your tax software every year. For what Saurel does or what Victor does, it may not be a situation where you have to update every piece of software every year. In general, I would say you want to keep up with the maintenance updates. So those are designed in order to keep you safe, right? So you should be doing required updates to like any of your products that have those, whether it's AutoCAD, Autodesk, whether it's BIM, whether it's Microsoft. You want to do the required updates about once a quarter just to keep yourself safe. As far as whether or not you need to update anything else, that really goes to your business model and what your plan is. If you're making hangers in a hanger factory, which is one of my customers, you don't have a lot of software that you have to keep up to date. You need all of your machines to be running well, and you need your people to be able to do their jobs. But the back office is mostly financial and customer tracking. And that's not in a situation where you need to update everything regularly.
Cool, thanks.
Lori
Yes,
Kate.
Lori.
Yeah, I noticed on your customer database, you have constant contact. And I heard recently that MailChimp bought them out and they probably won't be around much longer. I don't know how that's all going to work, but is MailChimp an option though to, I didn't see it listed, and I was wondering what your opinion was of MailChimp to use for a customer database.
I like MailChimp. It's definitely an option. I could have put 45 different things on the sheet. I just grabbed some of the ones that people usually gravitate toward and are aware of. But yes, MailChimp is an option. I do like them. You could definitely take a look at using MailChimp for your prospecting.
Okay. I didn't know if there was a downside to MailChimp versus some of these other ones, but
the main thing with any of these is to understand what it is that you want out of the technology. Technology should just be an enabler to get businesses what they want, right? You shouldn't be signing up for something because you feel like you're an Apple person or you're more of a MailChimp person than you are a constant contact person. You should decide exactly what it is that you need for your business, and then you should look at the technologies that are going to get you what you need for your business. Those are the ones that are most appropriate.
Got it. Thank you. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Perfect. We're right at 9:30. We have room for one more, and that's going to come from Giovanni. And no, actually, let's do Mark Ham first.
Hey, good morning, Darrell. You were running through that information, and I just said, wow, this is something that I try to talk to people about, and it's just so much I'm so glad now I can send them to you so you can explain to them all that's needed.
Thank
But
you.
you were dead on when you said when you have your website or your email, it needs to be at your website, not at Gmail, not at Yahoo. It's just about being professional. And I would love to hear your long version of this whole process. I know you crammed a lot of information in there, and I followed it, but I just wanted to thank you for hitting all the points that you need when you're starting a business. You were dead on. Perfect.
Thank you, Mark.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Mark. Giovanni?
Thank you, Saurel. Darrell, thank you so much for being here. And you definitely gave us this truly very good ABCs for myself and for so many people who either have a small business or a large business that really encompass the whole world around it. And I was thinking also what Mark was saying, I'm so glad this is recorded. I need to go over this a few times to make sure I got all those points in my business. So this is it. Thank you everybody for being at the Daily Huddle. Thank you for coming in and allowing yourself to expand yourself to the next level. Darrell, what are your last words?
My last words are, I sent this presentation to Saurel, and I am happy for him to share it with anybody that would like to take it. If you would like any other information, you can feel free to contact me directly. I will give you this presentation as well and answer any other questions. Thank you guys for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Darrell, thank you so much. And to people out there watching live on Facebook, or each of you here in the virtual studio audience, at first, thank you. And I also now request that you heed Darrell's call. And if you don't have a website, get one. Don't have your business at Gmail. Come on. It's 2020. Get a broadband link. Dropping out while we're on the Zoom call, okay? Love y'all. I'll see you
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Hey,
Thank you, Darrell.
Great stuff,
Great
Darrell.
day.
Thank you.
I was
Thank
waiting
you.
for you to go into business credit. You touched on so many points. I mean, just awesome. Awesome.
Darrell, what was your contact information?
It's D. Rodgers, is my first initial last name,